by FDA because they did not comply 100%. You have a company in South, the biggest company in South, and their plant pulled up by FDA. And you find that every now and then you keep on hearing, if I've got to go back, so you name a company where they do not have it. So Centaur, a Pune facility, has not had US FDA, not even had one single observation. That's how it is. So this is, and this I can tell you, the doctors understand the value of this. When we go and do the advisory board meetings and we tell them, it has a great impact. And that US FDA till 2003, you see what used to happen is that any US FDA inspector with a badge could walk into any factory. You see, this was in 2003 in US. But for coming outside, that means if he has to get out of US and come to India, go to any other country, then you have to give an advance notice of about 2 months. You know, when Bexis of the world in the past, it was not that surprise check. So they were to give advance notice, there will be the letter which will go from the company, that's how the visas were done. And now today, after that, now he can walk in even today in any other part of the country with a badge, and he has all the rights to inspect your facility if you are US FDA accreditation. And Mr. Sawant tells me, he says that they would inform us on Friday night at times, and the inspection on Friday night, when Saturday, Sunday you find the factory is closed.
They were on Sunday in Centaur.
So the Sunday in Centaur also. And Sunday they come?
They come and they found out what is what.
Yeah.
And they were the morning 8 o'clock they were in the plant.
They were in the plant. So that means Sunday they come, and they just come Sunday and surprise. And that's how they walk in. And then you find that they are on Monday morning they are in the plant. And that's how those inspections happen. And even when they come to Pune, they do not know which factory they are going to. You see, look at that, how it works. And then they get a telephone call and say that you go to Centaur. So that means that not even the individual inspector would know that what is he going to inspect. That also can happen. And that's how. And there's a book, I know, because some doctors have been asking for that book. I thought it hits the industry. There's a book which I saw on his table, which is called The Bottle of Lies. And there's a lot which has been spoken of companies, unfortunately, not very kind to Indian industry. But in that backdrop of the book, in the backdrop of what I've told you with respect to the plants, best companies' plants failing, you find that Centaur, this happening is a big achievement. Now, fast-paced growth companies. I think this is what now today is the last of the slides, and then I will wrap up. This is now what is very essential and important, because the market is turmoilish. The domestic market is going to be challenged for next few years. Domestic market has already been a challenge for the last 2 years. In fact, now our Ravi was telling me. How many companies do you have, Ravi? CNF?
10 CNF.
10 CNFs, and he says that there's not a single company which the initial 4 months has been double-digit growth. And he says the biggest growth rate company has only been 6 to 7%. So that means that's how it is. So this is the scenario. Forget about what the data which we get to see and is thrown on us. But these are the realities. So since yesterday when I discussed with all of you, I only find that business is becoming difficult. Now that is how it is. So what happens is that today the corporate policy, there's got to be this shift must happen. Corporate policy to the market reality. From rigid models to flexible and adaptable models, very essential. Otherwise, this one has to experiment and try and see 1 year. Otherwise, one would blame oneself. Top down will not work anymore. It's got to be bottoms up, because he's closer. Because when you find turmoilish atmosphere, then even a big ship will depend on the navigator. You see, when it sails, you find that there's a small boat which actually navigates it few kilometers inside, and then it comes back. So that means when you find the turmoil, then you have to be bottoms up. That's how you have your ears to the ground, and that's where Mr. Sawant has mentioned and stated that we depend on your feedback because you are neutral, no bias, and we want that you should come back and tell us so that we can be fast. Speed is the essence in taking decisions and making changes. Too much of caution is not good. That I can tell you. There's some video which is circulating of a young IAS officer in Gujarat. You see, he's 22 years of age and he's done his IAS. Am I right? It must have come to some of you. And what he says is, he says, we are Gujaratis. और हमको धंधे का एक असूल मालूम है कि रिस्क है तो प्रॉफिट है. And that's what he mentioned in States. So if you look at it, that means there's no gain without pain. So it's time when we should, let our guards lose a bit. Otherwise, we are doomed. And if you look into the restrictive bureaucracy, is actually it's primitive. It's like a dinosaur. So it's extinct now. So executive freedom and authority is the time. And from profit, we have to go to purpose, impact, and benefit. Closed door strategy to very open forum deliberation. That's why we get you here. You see, so we want. In fact, I have a rule at my desk. I declare nothing after 3 months of deliberations with anything which is rep. I will not declare unless we did something which we did with respect to change in reporting field force. I experimented it with my field force for Mr. Prabhu will know for at least about 6 months or 1 year. We did the pilot, and then I went and extended it all across. So, and finally, this is tomorrow's pharma. So pharma tomorrow I can only split into 2 categories. One is niche, which will be branded and branded generics, and this is NMAS. NMAS is shifting for sure. Now NMAS is shifting to generics and online. And this is how it is. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I love to speak. You see, so when they tell me that you should only be 10 minutes, so the point is that I've tried to do justice, and thank you. So I think with this, my presentation ends. And thank you very much.